Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk. My name is James, and I created this show to have a place where people could come and talk and discuss about current events and things that are going on in the news. When I created the show, it just so happened there was this unsolved murder of Samantha Woll. So I dedicated doing this show every weekday until the person is brought to justice. So yes, I will do it every weekday until that happens. Uh, a little bit about me. I used to be a private investigator. I had my own business in the Bay Area for 10 years. I was a court reporter and law researcher for the military. And I've conducted classes on interrogating witnesses and suspects, and I was an instructor of a deception detection techniques class. And I've also done undercover cases and did some criminal investigations. So, I'd like to welcome Duvid. I think that's how you pronounce it, Duvid. Welcome. Thank you for coming in. So, yes, this is the uh, horrible case, brutal murder of who of Samantha Woll. Now, David, you're saying there's some big updates today. Let me get through the case and we'll talk about that. I'm very interested. I have not heard anything new. But here's the case: Samantha Woll, 14-year-old, 14, 40-year-old single woman from Detroit, was brutally stabbed to death at her residence on Saturday, October 21st of 2023. A neighbor had called 911 to report a body laying in the sidewalk on the 1300 block of Juliet Place in the Lafayette Park area of Detroit. Now, police arrived and determined the woman was stabbed to death from multiple stab wounds and had been deceased for some time. And a trail of blood led from the location of the body to the inside of her residence. Police determined the stabbing took place inside, and Miss Wool then stumbled outside and fell to the ground where she was found. Now, uh, there was no forced entry of the residence, and police immediately ruled out a hate crime based on the evidence they had. What that evidence is, they're not releasing, but they have reason to believe it was something else. And there was no defensive wounds on Miss Wool. Now, she was the board director, or I'm sorry, the board president of the Downtown Synagogue of Detroit, and was very politically active with serving as the political director for Michigan Attorney General Dana Nasel's reelection campaign. And she also worked as a deputy district director for U.S. Representative Slotkin from Michigan. In November 8th, Wednesday, police made an arrest of an unnamed suspect who reportedly knew Miss Wool and attended her funeral. They arrested him. He invoked his rights to speak with an attorney and stop answering questions. And they had to release him on the 10th of November without being charged. Crime Staffers has issued a $15,000 reward for tips leading to an arrest. So, and David, you're saying a friend of Sam Wool, you are from Only People Covering. You are Only People Covering it. Okay. Um, but the things that we do know or we have seen, uh, the chief went before the board of police commissioners and reiterated it was not a hate crime. And I'll let you listen here.
It was not anti-Semitic. Is that still the case at this point?
I am confident in that. But again, when I stated that, my words were, at this time, there's nothing
Well, and he was saying, yeah, there's nothing to say it was a hate crime. Now they have on Sunday, the 10th of December, the police said they have somebody in custody. They did not say he was arrested. They say they have somebody in custody, and he is a stranger to Miss Woll. And this is what they have the clip of. Let me let you listen.
Now, the second person to be taken into police custody over the course of nearly 2-month investigation. But police have still not made any arrests or been able to definitely say who killed Samantha Woll. In a statement to News Nation, Detroit police confirmed that a, quote, person of interest has been taken into custody in furtherance of the investigation into the murder of Samantha Woll. But investigators offered no further details. The new update in the case was first reported by the Detroit News, citing two familiar sources with the investigation. They're reporting this person is not the same person.
So they're saying that he's not the same person that was arrested before, but they have a person that is in custody, and a person they named him as a person of interest. Now that could mean he is a suspect, and it could also mean he is a witness and has information in regards to the other person that was arrested before. We do not know. So there is a lot of speculation going on, and they're wording it as such as that he was arrested, and no, that was not the case. Um, And part of the show is I like to uh, allow people to come in and voice their opinions if you like. Um, but here's my opinion: is I think it was a person that was uh, acquainted with her, and she um, either picked that person up coming home from a wedding that she attended the night before, and they went to her house. uh, or it was somebody that was waiting for her already. Now, it makes more sense that the uh, she picked the person up, or he drove there and uh, met her. Now, two things that, or a few things that should be going on is the police do need to get a warrant for. Uh, Let me add you here. They need to get a warrant for uh, the cell phone record showing what her route was and from the wedding. So, yes, welcome. Is it Duvid? You have yourself on mute. Um,
Oh, yeah, Duvid, it's just the Yiddish
Duvid,
of
welcome.
David.
Welcome to the show. Uh, yes, this is a horrendous, brutal murder that has not been given the coverage that it needs to. And I had to create the show and continue with this portraying this. But you said there was some new updates.
Yeah, just in the news today, and then I was looking on Reddit. I saw a bunch of information that you might be hearsay, hearsay. But yeah, I appreciate you covering it. And I would say a certain aspect, God forbid, her murder was over covered. Uh, when it first happened, but since it's happened, and outside of the potential of it being a hate crime, it's been undercovered,
Yes, that is true.
and especially the evidence that I mean, if you want to talk about the likelihood of what.
There's a lot of evidence, and the police said from the beginning they're going to keep this close to the chest, if you will. They're not going to release what information there was. Uh, I was thinking, the murder weapon itself. Nobody has asked questions. Media has not asked questions to the police, nor has the police said anything about a murder weapon. They said multiple stabbings, but was it a knife that was brought with the person? Was it a knife from her residence? Do they have the murder weapon? Yes. a lot of the evidence is not being released.
Yeah, I guess to say that, I mean, from my knowledge, there's only been the one press conference at the very beginning, and then at a different press conference with the Chief White, where he just answered a very few questions on it. And it was really just the first press conference where there was a whole bunch of people that were there, and almost all of them were there exclusively because of the possibility that it was a hate crime. So,
Yeah, that police commissioners meeting, it seems so set up and scripted and politically motivated for their own benefits.
are you a Detroiter?
Originally, I'm from California, but I've been involved with politics pretty much my whole life,
So you're not
behind the
connected to
scenes.
Michigan at all?
Yes, I've seen it all, especially with the California Central Valley politics.
I'm
Gets
just curious
nasty.
because you're doing these regular programs, so you never met Sam Woll, or you're not connected with Detroit.
Never met her, and I used to be a private investigator, and I've followed crimes like this before in my career, and just as a hobby, as a pastime. And it just shocked me that there was so little information given, so little information provided by the police, and so little coverage.
Yeah, well, but just maybe we'll clarify a few things quickly, and then we could
Yes.
jump into the new evidence. So one thing, I'm a friend of Sam Woll's for over 10 years, although I haven't seen her since COVID-19. I was an active member of the
Mm.
synagogue. I prayed together with her over 100 times, although I know her almost exclusively through public Jewish events or the synagogue. So I've never, I don't know her personally outside of public events, but I was friends with her for over 10 years. And, we prayed with each other probably over 100 times. And the synagogue used to have meals. So we've eaten together. We spoke tens of hours. Wonderful woman, nice, when the murder happened, like it was, God forbid, like why, who, and, the shock. And, just the time that it happened, the hype, hysteria that maybe it was a hate crime. Although, yeah, I'm logical, follow the evidence, and I'm familiar with a little bit of police investigations, and my mother's a lawyer, and but I'm not expert in it. That's your expertise. And a mention in Detroit, chief of police is an elected position. I'm not sure if it's like that in all areas. So James Craig, I was watching, he was on a podcast like Surviving the Survivors this week, and James Craig, who almost ran for governor and got disqualified, he's going to run for senator. He loved talking to the press, and he was criticized for giving too much information, and he would go on like philosophical rambles to the press, and like he was constantly on TV. And when he retired in order to run for governor. I think, I mean, I'm that Chief White, that's an elected position, so it's his approach to chief of police, just like district attorney, and so Chief White gave a lot of insight that I saw this week, and then just yesterday they announced that they arrested a new person, although it's not clear, and then there was quite a few leaks from media or other sources of some information just in the last few hours, as the 24-hour deadline is approaching.
Now he was only taken into custody, is what their words were. He was not arrested. They did not use the word arrested, and I'm wondering if this was just a person that was brought in for questioning, and
So
as part of their case. I don't know. Okay, go ahead.
just in the last hour, they submitted for a search warrant, and so there's not much information. There's conflicting information from media, like if he was brought in because they thought he might have had information, or whether there's a connection between the person who was brought in and the search warrant. And then, just to mention, I saw a leak that the claim was that the person who was arrested before had mentioned something like he thought Sam's murder was his fault. And
Mm.
and then if it's just like a statement, like, God forbid, like, if anyone could have said that, like, maybe I could have done something, but if or there might be more to it, but that statement um,
Depends on the context exactly how it was,
of the first person that was arrested. So it's
right,
unclear
right.
whether he just made a careless statement when the police were questioning people that knew her, and the person could have just said like, well, God forbid, it's my fault she got killed, and if it was just someone who was shocked that it could have happened, or whether that was some implication, and or whether the police have more information than they're knowing, like that it's likely that they have a person that they think is the prime suspect. However, they don't have evidence. And like you mentioned, the case of the knife, uh, was it one of her knives? God forbid, or did the person bring a knife? If they brought a knife, it could be first degree murder. Uh,
Correct. Premeditated, yes.
you premeditated. If it was one of her knives, it could have been something out of passion. And like I'm a logical person, and I mean, from an investigative perspective, anybody could do anything for any reason. God forbid, although certain things are much more likely than others.
Yes, there was, the biggest thing, the biggest crime that, would be a home invasion or a robbery gone wrong. Now they're stating that, there's no forced entry. Her wallet and cell phone were present on her, so there's it does not lead to a robbery motive. So the other thing is passion,
Yeah,
and
they
it could.
haven't
I mean,
stated about.
go
They
ahead.
haven't released much. I mean, there could be more information, like blood stains in her apartment. Like, is it possible that was the person? Did it happen like in the middle of her apartment, or did it happen near her door? And you say that if it happened near her door, if it happened in the middle of her apartment, that would be make it extremely likely that it's someone she voluntarily let in, or even possible she had been letting someone stay there, or um, people say she's single. Like I have no idea. She could have been dating somebody. She and even possible conspiracy theories of she was a wonderful person. She was very nice. It's I mean, she was a political person, but even like I disagreed with her politically, but like the likelihood that would have led to something like this is extremely unlikely. That you're thinking the most likely is some sort of romantic domestic dispute, and then
Yes, yeah,
the most likely scenario, God forbid, is that it's someone well known in the Jewish community, and that could also be a reason why people are not cooperating, possibly why her family. I've heard rumors possibly that their family might even think they know who did it. So I mean, there's a certain question like in this speculation, like I might know the name. Like I was scared because I hadn't seen her since COVID-19. When I heard she was murdered, I saw the funeral. They didn't, catch it. They didn't even lead on it, and it was a knife attack. That I spoke to my mom. She said, "Well, knife attacks are usually crimes of passion, related
exactly.
like
Yes,
a boyfriend." So I was thinking, like, God forbid, is the person who killed her going to be at the funeral? And I mean, there's a whole media and lots of people at the funeral, but I was a little scared to go to the funeral because, like, oh my God, like, what if the person who killed her is at the funeral? And so the possibility that I mean this I don't this speculation, but that the family and the police are pretty sure who did it, and that would have been someone she would have had some sort of romantic relationship that the public may or may not know, that they haven't talked to the media enough, but there's just no evidence that they can't pin the person there, and they have no murder weapon. And so, if you're thinking like Murder She Wrote or Columbo or something like that, where they would just pester the person that they're pretty sure who did it until they slipped up. Um, but yeah, I mean, so James Craig, the former, he was criticizing. I mean, he wasn't criticizing, but you'll say it wasn't what he would have done. He would have given a lot more information to the public, and just the statement, well, it's not a hate crime. And he's saying, well, we should tell the public it's not a hate crime because
because
they think that it's someone who knew her, and they have high speculation of who did it. There's just not enough evidence. But the fact that they haven't give that much information, And then the question that in the James Craig, this podcast, Surviving the Survivor, was how common is it that they wouldn't release the names of these people? I just saw today that a newscaster submitted a Freedom of Information Act for the police body cam footage of the arrest in
Mm,
Kalamazoo, and they rejected it based on disturbing the current case. And then even if the investigation, if the police, James Craig's speculation, although he said he didn't like to speculate, was that the police arrested the person likely being the person who was arrested in Kalamazoo, and but they just didn't have enough uh, evidence for the DA, because I guess the DA, if they try the person and they're found innocent, they can't try him again. So from the terms of the police arrest, the police had enough to arrest, but the prosecutor didn't feel there was enough to go to trial, and that's somewhat a common thing in Detroit police practice. The difference in evidence for an arrest and prosecution, and if that's the case, it's just this person who may, God forbid, uh, may likely be a prominent person in the Jewish community. Possible also speculation that it's a married man, and that could also be more reason, like why someone might have, God forbid, wanted to kill Sam Woll, if it was a married man who had some sort of romantic thing with her, that could have added to some, God forbid, killing her so it didn't come out, and it being a prominent person in the Jewish community that people who know her, her family, her close friends are very careful to say something. But then the difficulty that God forbid, if it's a prominent member of the Jewish community who's a married man, that everyone's walking around like, did you kill Sam Wool? And if there's no evidence, and he got rid of the murder weapon, God forbid, if he doesn't slip up, he could get away with it.
yes, yes, all uh, uh, foreseeable scenarios, believable scenarios. Uh, a person of her congregation. It could be somebody that was wanted to have a romantic relationship, and she spurned him. She didn't want one, and he would possibly could be lying in wait when she got home. Um,
That's tough to, I
who
mean,
knows?
God forbid. I mean, anything you said, like anybody could do anything for any reason, and say like, okay,
Yes, yes.
Sam
My
Wool was a full
typical.
package. She was intelligent, well educated. She came from a wealthy family. She was she was a pretty woman. I mean, she was a full package. So it's like you'd say there's definitely um, many people who might have wanted to have a romantic relationship. I don't know if she dated much, or if anything like that, to have any possibility. I would have to say, like, almost certainly she would probably want to date a Jewish man. And I mean, because
Correct. Yeah, she seemed
Judaism's
very
so
orthodox.
important to her
Yes.
that so it's saying like, it have to assume that it was someone Jewish who killed her, or God forbid, that as I mentioned, the possibility that could have been someone married also, that could have added to it, or whether she reject the advances, or what level of God forbid possibility she had something with a married man that could have caused, or even a jealous wife or something like that. I mean, just all possibilities that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're an investigator.
A confrontation, though, I don't think she would allow the person in, and she would have a guard up. There was no defensive wounds, and well, they haven't released that information about the
Well,
autopsy. As was she stabbed
Well,
in the front?
they've said that
Yeah.
that she didn't appear. The police said that, but they didn't release whether she was, God forbid, stabbed in her kitchen or stabbed in by the front door, which
Yeah.
could change something. Whether the person waited and just caught her, God forbid, by the door, that could also be. Well, how do they know it wasn't a hate crime then? So I'm guessing
Well,
it's
what
more
I would
likely.
like to know is the number of stab wounds and the depth.
He
Because,
said he
I mean,
couldn't
if
say
it's
that
a
because the
hesitation
investigation.
stabbing, it's a person that definitely is close and in a relationship with the person.
Well, the at the press conference, he said he couldn't say that because of
No, they would
a
not release that
possibility for the
information.
investigation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be curious whether, I mean, just to completely rule out that it was someone she unquestionably purposely let into her apartment, whether the blood stain, or whether they know if it happened like clearly inside her apartment, didn't happen like by the door.
Yes, yeah, they're stating it happened inside the apartment. So how messy was it? I mean, the person, multiple stab wounds, he's going to be covered in blood. So it has to have a trail of blood leading away as well, you would think. But maybe that's information, evidence they're not releasing.
Yeah, if there's not, I mean, it's been a month and a half that I lived in Brooklyn. I don't know if you felt like they had, God forbid, I mean, it was already a decade ago, that young kid who was kidnapped and like dismembered, Levi Klatsky, and by a Jewish man, also, God forbid. But they pieced it together from um, within a few days from security footage from
Yeah.
businesses.
And yeah, that was the other thing is the Ring cameras that are in her neighborhood.
Yeah, my neighborhood,
Uh,
like almost every other neighbor of mine, has Ring cameras that
because I'm not sure exactly where the wedding event she went to took place, but she left at 12:30 in the morning to where how long it would take her to get home? I don't
they
know.
haven't released
But
that information. So I didn't
right.
know it was around, but they didn't release that
I
information.
forget it's the state senator. It was her
Yeah,
wedding.
Stephanie Chang.
Yes,
Oh, it
I
wasn't
believe
her
the
wedding, it was someone else, but she was there
her
also.
friend, but yeah, I think it was a local suburb of Detroit area. So I'm thinking tops 45 minutes to get home. So
Yeah,
we're
well, it wasn't
talking
walking distance.
no. So we're talking 2 in the morning. And at that time in that neighborhood, they're not going to have that much traffic. So you should be able to pinpoint it down, you would think. You would think. But the I've seen the uh, solving statistics for the police department in Detroit. And yes, that previous guy Craig, I think isn't he the Cincinnati chief right
Yeah, he
now?
was actually in California too, Los Angeles, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the solving rate is dismal. I think it's in 20-30% solving rate
Yeah, I think Craig said it
homicides.
was like it was in the 10% when he came in, 20 to
Yeah.
30%.
Or no,
Um,
15, I believe he said. Yeah, something like that.
yeah, so I mean, God forbid, um, although, I mean, he, you know, Chief Craig said it's largely due to police investigations need the help and support of the public, and in most cases, there's people who know who did it, and either
Yes. Yeah.
are scared to come forward or don't trust the system. And I would guess that it might be similar in this case, where I mean,
And they don't have
it could be
physical
that
evidence.
it
Yeah,
could be
maybe they
that the
don't.
inside people, so to say, they know the person who you was arrested. That's the likely suspect, and maybe they told the police. That's, I mean, I don't, from your expertise, if you think it's likely that the police think they know who
And,
did it and they just don't have enough evidence, or you think that they don't have that information.
yeah,
Like
and
maybe she
the
did
TV
go home
shows
with
like The Law and Order of they have to have all the evidence to get a conviction. I have
well,
seen so many cases as a court reporter, and with just circumstantial evidence, you get a conviction. So I hopefully they're just building their case and just dotting all the i's, crossing all the t's, getting it all set up for the DA in a pretty little package, so where they can make an arrest and issue charges. That's what I pray for.
yeah, I mean, I mean, you think it's gonna be her somewhat like boyfriend or whatever,
I'm leaning towards that. Yes, yes.
and saying, I don't know her well enough. I haven't seen her since COVID-19. I don't know who her boyfriend is, although it wouldn't be surprising if the name was released. I'd be like, oh, I do know that person,
No,
because
right. I mean, she's again, she's very politically active. She has a career building that, and she was a person going places, definitely. Uh, and so, yes, keeping a private life private is paramount
well,
in that
people
type of
also
career.
mentioned that how uncommon is it that they haven't released the name of the first person that was arrested? And one of the possibilities they mentioned was that it
And
was
that's money. That's money
that's
behind
yeah,
that
it's a high
person.
profile person.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I guess maybe it's someone prominent in the Jewish community, or um, maybe I mean the Jewish community with the you might be paranoid. You don't want to look bad or something that or unless they're certain that God forbid that if it is a prominent person in the Jewish community who killed her, that I'm not sure if the Jewish community wouldn't cooperate. I'm not sure about that, but at least would work to try to keep it out of the press.
Different scenarios come to mind. You get the very far outlandish ones. Where it could be um, one of her old bosses.
Well, she worked for women,
Yes,
and I'm not sure like her old boss, like if who would be upset at her enough. Like she wasn't a businesswoman.
not romantic, but political for political reasons.
Yep, I mean, like she worked for Lisa Slotkin, Dana Nessel, a woman Padma Kupa, almost all women, and she was a winner. I mean, she worked for Hillary Clinton. She trained. I mean, she was I mean, she wasn't the richest person, but I mean, she was one of the most prominent Jews in Detroit. She was probably one of the most senior people in the Michigan Democratic Party. She was like the head trainer for door knocking campaigns, even going back to Hillary Clinton. When Hillary Clinton ran, like she gave seminars to like hundreds of people on how to knock doors and do canvassing. She was a campaign manager, although yeah, I would say if it wasn't a boyfriend type thing, if it did someone upset enough with her, or someone that she would have let into her apartment and she wouldn't have thought was upset with her like that, or I mean, God forbid, it's hard to fathom. And even, because the media, like it's always synagogue president. I mean, that seems politically loaded, uh, to leave out there that it was related to anti-Semitism, because I mean, relatively to her accomplishments, I'm not sure synagogue president was even her biggest accomplishment. I mean, you think
Well,
like
that was the other thing I was thinking of. Did she have voting rights?
voting rights.
Yes,
At
and
the,
if was that could be a motive as well. If
well,
there
the
was
synagogue
some,
did just raise $5 million, and they rebuilt the building. I mean, there's a lot of money. They had
that's money.
foundational support. Um, I mean, just sort of from the
Yeah,
media purpose, if they said like senior ranking Democrat political operative, or even like I think she was Elise Slotkin's chief of staff. She was like a congressional chief of staff because she left Detroit to live in Lansing for a while. Uh, but like relatively to, to call her a synagogue president. Um,
yes, like she was the deputy director
yeah, I'm
of the
not even sure
reelection.
like
Yeah,
synagogue president, like that's her biggest thing. I mean, if you said, how often do congressional staffers, deputy directors get killed? God forbid.
yeah, and for them to be so quiet about it is just shocking to me. Not yes and no. They're politicians, and so that does not surprise me. So, uh, casual flipper is saying, Samantha is not the only one who got murdered in Detroit. No, that is true. They just uh, were toting the numbers about it was the lowest murder rate since the 60s, I believe they were saying, or something like that. And I think they were just trying to pat themselves on the back, showing that their community plans were working. So, well, you had no place but to go up.
Well, God forbid. I mean, I would guess over maybe even 90% of the murders in Detroit are black on black. So
Yes,
the
yes,
few cases that,
gangs.
yeah, and they're, I mean, also it's so easy. The guns are so common. It's so easy to get a gun that, like most of them are gun deaths. Most most of them, like Chief Craig said, are stupid arguments that escalates. I forget the percentage, but I think he said
Mhm.
well over 75% of murders in Detroit are arguments that escalate into gun violence. Uh, so the handful of exceptions of non-blacks that are killed in Detroit, especially something that would scare people like a random crime that wasn't connected to illegal activity or gangs or something like that, become the prominent cases. The other main case is this surgeon doctor that was
Yeah,
found
Devin
killed in
Hoover,
his house.
yes.
And
And Casual Flipper just put his name in the chat there. Yeah, he was a prominent doctor, murdered in his mansion. Um, I looked at the case. They looks like they know who did it. They just can't prove it.
yeah, which could be the same. But I don't know if they've released a name in that one either.
I
Where
don't think they did.
and how I don't know the legalities of
It's
of
municipality
not
by
leaking.
municipality. They have it um, an option to release or not.
Well, saying
Some
from
some do. They like if they do a DUI sting on a weekend. They will. This place I used to live at. They would on Monday morning release the names of all the people that were arrested.
well, I just think for process of elimination, I could, I think so. I can't guarantee it because I don't have the info that I figured out who was detained just from process of elimination
Yeah.
of people that were at the funeral that were pictured with her at the fundraiser and have some sort of
Well,
business.
I was a private investigator. If I wanted to
Well,
get the
in
name of,
Kalamazoo, yeah, I mean, just to say, like, process of elimination to say
yeah,
who the person was arrested and whether that person's the prime suspect. And for the news type, with the with all the national attention, what's the logic that no journalist has released the name of the suspect, or is that journalistic integrity that a journalist wouldn't report that if the police haven't released it?
to be honest, I don't think any journalist is working on this. I think, well, the national news and all that, they are just doing uh, uh, copy and paste from what the local newspapers are saying. So it's only like one or two reporters that are actually doing reporting on it, and I don't know how good of reporters they are, how investigative reporters they are.
Well, they just did the search warrant, literally like an hour before you did the show. I was just
And that with
looking.
the search one, that's why I wanted to say thank you for bringing that up. That is a tactic they can use when they are questioning a person. They don't have to arrest them. They can just continue questioning them and get a search warrant in the meantime. Now, I don't know if it was a search warrant for that person that is in custody, or if it is a search warrant for the person's location that was arrested before. I don't know if I'm not seeing it. Did it state who it was? A
No, I
search
mean,
warrant
it
was
didn't.
for?
They're not releasing anything, and
Okay,
I mean, that's why I was asking you. Um,
that
and
was news to me. I had not heard that.
let's say you figured out who this person they arrested in Kalamazoo was. You got the name and the information. Like, is that something you would share, or you would be like, "Well, the police did, and I don't think I'm going to share that,"
Oh,
or is
yes,
that
I would
something
share it. Yes, yeah,
you could
it's
be
if
sued for if you released it and you were wrong, and you said, "I think this is the person that was arrested," or it turned out you were wrong, or even if you're right, is that somehow like defamation?
no, there that it you have. I'm a private citizen, and I gather this information. I can release it as a private citizen because nobody hired me as a private investigator. I did it myself. Um, yeah, there has to be proven intent to defame, and it's not. I'm just releasing information from what I've heard.
I don't know much about media. Like, maybe I'm a logical person to think more into private investigation, but like because they sent so many people to Detroit to the news stories. They had, I mean, I don't know that many people. They might have only sent a handful of people, press investigators, and they might have left after the first time. And like you said, no one's investigating it. How is it possible that no one's released the name of the prime suspect, the person they arrested in
That is,
Kalamazoo?
I am surprised at that. I
Uh,
know. Too
And
many
doesn't
people
seem
know.
that doesn't seem as me who used to go to the same synagogue as her, that I could figure it out by process of elimination, just
Yeah,
by who might have had business or family in Kalamazoo. It
or
was just like
friends.
I don't
Yeah.
know who dated her. I'm not close, or who might have known her like that, but just out of process of elimination of who had something in Kalamazoo.
Well, like what I said before, when it happened in the course of events, it seemed like they had a target on this person's back this whole time immediately, and he was detained in Kalamazoo for whatever reason, and he was being questioned, and he made statements, and what that statement is, we can assume, but they decided to arrest him right then en route to Detroit. So that's when he said, "Oh, okay, well, I'm not gonna answer any more questions. I want my attorney." Now, what that statement was exactly, I would love to know.
Yeah, I mean, someone on the Surviving the Survivors podcast, not James Craig himself, but another of the panelists, suggested that maybe the police had some sort of evidence connecting him to the wedding or having spoken to Sam that night, and he gave a
Right.
different story, not corresponding to the evidence, and that's why they uh, picked him up, and he might have been the prime target in the first place. So like, boyfriend, that maybe other people like, oh, she does have this boyfriend and he is possibly abusive. And then he testified that he wasn't there that night, but then there was a different testimony that maybe said like he was at the wedding or something. That was speculation. That's pure speculation, and the logic, although then a news article just today on Twitter, a reporter, but that may not be any truth to it all, claimed that the person made some weird statement like, I feel I'm responsible for her murder, which then turns out like he just meant like he felt bad for it, but not like he was the one who did it. But said that if the police aren't giving information, um, you think no one cares enough that they wouldn't leak it. Like if there was actual press people, like an interview. I know the interviews, they've really just interviewed one person, like like a somewhat small time spokesman for the Jewish community that doesn't even get interviewed that much. He's the one that always appears to get interviewed. He doesn't even live in Detroit. Um, but the
Yeah.
likelihood that the you say the press doesn't really care, they're just copying pasting a story and they're running with it because the war, the anti-Semitism narrative. Or you think if
Yeah.
it was like some sort of love triangle, that it would still be national media?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it would at that, and it's unfortunate, but
Which is a congressional staffer, it has to be national media, even if it is a jealous boyfriend or love triangle or something like that.
that's the other possibility. A congressional staffer.
Yeah, I mean, it
That's
even seems weird that no one's even I mean, saying, okay, like I mean, like I'm a Jew, I'm worried about anti-Semitism. When I first heard of it, I was like, oh man, this is, like, because I could see like, the Arab community and like, Israel, we were bombing the hell out of them, and there's so many dead children that maybe someone would be so mad that they would, do that, God forbid. But looking at the cases, like, nah, it's unlikely, and like, unfortunately, I think it's most likely it's someone within the Jewish community who probably did, although that's also just pure speculation. But
now. See,
so
I,
yes,
I I grew up in California, and there wasn't. I mean, my mother worked in the city of Los Angeles during the Watts riots, and we lived in Los Angeles and Central Valley. It was just it evolved to where there was not that much racism. Now, moving here to Michigan 4 or 5 years ago, it was a culture shock. I mean, I've been around the world, but moving here, it was just the racism was so blatant. It was shocking.
yeah, but the demographics are much different because uh, Detroit is a super majority of African Americans. So if California is like 30-40% Hispanic, 20% Black, 20% white, 20% Asian, but like Detroit is just like a super majority. And like I was with Sam Woll, like I was a University of Michigan alumni, at the synagogue trying to build my life in Detroit, rebuild Jewish life. Although I stayed in the suburbs, she actually ended up moving and living in Detroit. Believing in Detroit, believing in the revitalization of Jewish Detroit. As Jews largely fled Detroit after the '67 riots, revolution,
Right.
and so the rebirth of urbanism of Jews, and Mayor Duggan, a new pitch to revitalize Detroit, make it multicultural, and to say that that failed, like but she was also a Democratic operative, and her mainstream Democratic politics may not be in line with the mainstream African American interest, or various things, but like
Politics can get very ugly. Yes.
as a congressional staffer, that I mean, I know there was that case in Washington D.C. that became part of like international conspiracy theories. There's also a Jewish man that was killed, and they tried to pin it on Hillary Clinton. The name is slipping me. That congressional staffer that they blamed his murder on Hillary Clinton. It may still be unsolved. That it was just
David, yeah, yes, I remember. Yeah.
the
I
name
forget his name.
slipping me, but I mean, I don't know if you into conspiracy theories, but if you remember that there was the conspiracies that like Hillary Clinton killed him, but
I
and
think he committed suicide in the park, didn't he, on a bench? And yes,
possibly if it's still unsolved or they rule it a suicide. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not that common a congressional staffer gets killed like that, and that in Detroit, like by saying like, do political enemies kill each other like that in the U.S.? Is that common? That
yeah, more than you would think. They did have the was the politician went after the news reporter in Las Vegas, where he murdered the newspaper reporter that was releasing information on him in different articles, corruption, I believe, or something like that.
well, I mean, God
That,
forbid.
that was last year, I believe.
Well, I mean, okay, if it was a Democratic primary, so okay, like Stephanie Craig, Stephanie Chang, an Asian woman, she actually married an African American, and like if she in all of her runnings, like it'd be likely a Democrat, besides for Elise Latkin, who narrowly won. But she likely would have been the chief of staff to Elise Latkin's Senate
Yes,
run,
yes,
and who actually is likely to be running against James Craig. But the key thing will be the Democratic primary, where her main opponent is Peter Meyer, and the two have been friendly. Peter Meyer was um, the descendant of the Meyer food chain billionaire family
right.
that went against Trump and then lost in the primary because he went against Trump. But now he plans on running for Senate. But I mean, I don't know if Sam had political enemies. I mean, you could say possibly like African American, like she supported Stephanie Chang, that possibly like an African American in the Democratic primary. Like, I mean, it seems
She was very successful, so she had political enemies.
as a fundraiser, like jealousy, like murder
Yes.
enemy.
Oh, yes, yes.
Are you saying that because you've been investigating it, or are you just speculating that from your
No,
knowledge
it's
in
just
general?
how the politics works. Yes, it is a dog eat dog field of industry.
Yeah, I think she was the senior Democratic. She might have been the senior Democrat in all of the in Metro Detroit. That I mean, it could also be. If it's internal Democrat, that she was like a kingmaker and had the power to
Mhm.
uh, choose Democratic candidates. That like if Sam liked you, you could. If Sam didn't like you, uh, or like ghosted you, then your chance of winning would be near zero because she had that much power in the Michigan, the Detroit area Democratic. That if I mean, because there is really no Republican wins in that area. Like even Elise Slotkin that she supported, like that's not in Detroit. She drove out. She did that. But I mean, if you're thinking internal, like Los Angeles or something like that, like only Democrats win. So the key thing is the Democratic primary. So if she had that much power to in Democratic primaries that another Democratic candidate or someone who wanted another candidate, God forbid. I mean, is that what you're saying, or you like some Republican from
It
Slatkins?
could have been one of her peers, that was jealous of her job. It can be numerous things with the political field, but the more and more I think about it, it goes back to a personal relationship gone wrong, a domestic violence type thing.
Yeah,
That's what I'm. That's what I'm
well, you
thinking.
mentioned the key of the knife. Like, is
Yeah, that's what bothers me.
was it one of her knives that was used, or and I mean, presumably they don't have the murder weapon, that the person who did it took the weapon from them. And if they have a search weapon, if they can't find the weapon, it's going to be hard to prove the case. But like, I'm presuming that they don't actually have the weapon. Um,
Well, that's a big presumption. I mean, we don't know. We just don't know, and they're not releasing that information. And
yeah, I mean,
and
if they have the
nobody's
weapon, that
questioning. I can't believe the media hasn't questioned them about that.
yeah, I guess the media really just doesn't care in terms of. I mean, that's why I was watching
That's
your
that's the first
program
thing I would
because
ask for. Hey, where's the murder? Do you have the murder weapon? Where is it? What kind of knife is it? Does it have fingerprints on it? Is it all bloody? Was it found outside, inside? Yeah, there's so many questions on that.
well, within the Jewish community and like the Democratic politics, they've kind of like turned her into a saint. And the key thing is to keep her message going, keep the hope alive. She believed in Detroit. She believed in all these causes, and very little on um, the investigation. Besides for the people that are insistent that it was a anti-Jewish hate crime, which like, so the people who are insistent that it's an anti-Jewish hate crime, you'll see constant posts. So if you just search Samantha Woll on Twitter, like I would say almost half of the posts are people that are still insistent that it's an anti-Jewish hate crime. That's why I see your
Yeah,
post. Like I constantly, that's why I came to your channel. I'm just
right,
searching it.
right, right. I hate to assume. I used to, I was a forensic accountant, and that's accounting. When you assume, it makes an ass out of you and me. That's why you just don't assume things, and you have the facts. And as a court reporter and an investigator, yeah, you can't have yourself led by conjecture. You can have leads and pursue those leads, but it's not you're not convinced until that lead is proven fact. So, and the other thing is, another scenario is possibly it is known who this murderer is. It is and would blemish Samantha's name, and possibly the family doesn't want them coming forward. They're thinking, she's dead. Let's mourn her and move on. Let's not drag her
God
name
forbid
through the mud.
that's why it was the possibility that it was a married man, a relationship with a married
Right.
man.
Yeah. So nobody is coming forward, and they're just saying, you know what, God will take care of this in the end. God will take care of him in the end. But
So you're
so
going to deal with it.
don't
You're
ruin
going to go to
Samantha's name.
synagogue and allow this person to remain a prominent member in the Jewish community, even though they killed Samantha Woll, God forbid.
Let them live with the guilt. Guilt can tear a person apart.
Okay, and so you as an investigator, so okay, like if her family and a few people in the Jewish community have determined that, um, I mean, it's not her family doesn't have the right to forgive the murder. Prominent people in the Jewish community do not have the right to forgive the murderer, right?
No, they do not. But they do not have. They do have the right to remain silent and not cooperate and answer questions and not help the police. I mean, it's just a thought. I mean, that's a possibility, a slim chance possibility. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and there's also
because I
the
mean, the if it's a crime of passion, you're not premeditated, you're not planning this thing out. You're going to leave evidence. Period. You're going to leave incriminating evidence, and for them not to have that evidence, well, it depends on what the evidence is. Yeah. I
Well,
wish I was just I wish I was on this case.
well, if you said that, okay, if the chief of police is an elected position and that's just his approach, that James Craig said
He
he would have given more information to the public, and if this could cost him the next election, or it's unlikely that because it's such an African American district, and probably the interest in this case is coming from people outside of Detroit, and his handling of it, like the demand for information on the case is probably not coming from people in Detroit.
Yeah, I've listened to him speak. I saw his the full press conference of the not the press conference, the police commissioners meeting, and just his way he was answering his flippant remarks in regards to Dr. Hoover about yeah, I'd have an update by the first snow, and it's Michigan; it can snow anytime. And it was just rather unprofessional. He doesn't speak well, and I don't. A police chief is just a puppet and just a spokesperson talking about what's going on in the police department. They are not sometimes police officers. They don't have any training, especially in detective work. So yeah, a bit unprofessional as casual flipper. But yes, it was. I listened to it and I thought, wow, he doesn't care about being reelected. Yeah, but yeah, it needs to have somebody needs to come forward. They definitely need to have witnesses come forward to give information for an arrest and charges to be made.
So, I mean, as an investigator, I mean, if it's like Columbo or Murder She Wrote, that you just keep on irritating people until they slip out information.
You do, yeah, certain things. I mean, if you know who the person is, they're going to hound this person. The police are going to be on him all the time. They're going to harass him. There's no such thing as police harassment. No, no. They do it whatever they want, and so they know who it is. They're going to hound that person. So why the DA did not go forward with the charges is beyond me. Maybe
Did they,
because I mean, it was the first time they were hearing of the person. They're saying, "No, we don't have enough. We don't even know this person. Give me some more information." They
can they
they made
require
the
that the
arrest
person
on
not leave
the
town?
spot. Say again? Go ahead.
Can they require that the person not leave town?
No, no. Once you're released, you're allowed to do anything you want, unless you're arrested again. Until you're arraigned before a judge. Only a judge can tell you, "Hey, you can't do this. You can't do that." They can have that as part of his release. It depends. I don't know Michigan law 100%, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, you can do whatever you want after you're released. It'd be stupid for him, but again, it depends on what they're looking at him for. If was he a love interest or was he just a friend and made a stupid comment? Are the police just grasping at straws and just arresting anybody and everybody and seeing, shaking the tree, see what falls out? I don't know, but I would
That's,
I would definitely be going harder than what it seems to be happening at all these persons of
it
interest.
seems to have died out, like the media attention. I mean, they reported the rest of the person suspect of interest, or even the arrest the other day, the like mild report, but not much serious attempt to, I guess, demand information. If he's saying that if the police aren't giving information, that there could be investigative journalism to figure the information out for themselves, or is that not like the internet sleuthing, true crime, to say I mean, is that like the genre you find yourself in? You're like internet sleuth, true crime person, or just
Yes, a
this?
little bit because I looked at found out where the who the wedding was, where it was. I saw some pictures of Samantha with the wedding party, and I would have been all over that guest list of all right, what was going on, who'd she leave with, what time did she leave, and if she had her cell phone with her, get the search warrant for the records, find out where the route was for ping the phone, find out if she deviated at a certain point to pick somebody up, possibly, or did she just go straight home? So just so many things I hope that they're doing, and it's just we don't see that.
Yeah, God
But
forbid. I watched some of your other videos. I'm sorry about your injury or your amputations. God forbid. I'm sorry about
yeah,
that. Hope however you heal or the best of your health. In case I don't know how long that's been or the last time you've been on your feet to do investigations.
I retired in 2010. Yeah, wrong time. Yeah,
I mean, you could figure
I,
quite a bit
I
out on the internet, but
I did some cases after that and some undercover things, but yeah, minimal stuff.
is this the only? Have you been doing this for a while, or is this the first real
I
case you picked
oh
up and been
my
doing?
goodness, I started in the military right out of high school. Wanted to be an attorney. Um, was a court reporter, law researcher, and then worked a couple of undercover cases with when I was in the army, and then got out, got my degree in accounting, and worked as a forensic accountant, auditor, going into different companies, finding out how come they're screwed up, and then became a investigator, a private investigator for under another person's license, and did surveillance. Enjoyed that, so did that for 10 years. Had my business in San Francisco for 10 years, and yeah, that was enjoyable.
And what about the internet? Is this Samantha Woll the first case that you've really been doing daily
No,
editing
no, I've
any other?
there was I forget their names, the father son uh serial killers in New York and Virginia, Madison area, Maryland area. The black kid and his father, they're shooting people from the trunk of their car.
Well,
I
how
don't know
long
if
did you
you're
do that? How long did you follow that till they caught
oh
them?
until they caught him. Yeah, I was following it until they caught him.
Was that months or?
Oh, yeah, a couple of months because that was when I had my downtime. I was still an investigator at that time. That my goodness, that's been 15 years ago. Oh,
Am
15,
I the
20 years
first
ago.
person who knows Sam Woll to reach out to you, or other people reached out to you?
No, I just I was seeing the news. I saw that what happened, and what the initial thing was going on that weekend, and the initial reports and conference, and I thought it's just something doesn't seem right. Something sounds fishy here. So I just started looking
I
into
agree
it.
with you. I was saying I've been watching your programs for a few weeks now, off and on, just because I want to know. And like I knew Sam, I liked her. Like I don't want to see whoever did this get away with it in some sort of closure. But am I the first person who knows Sam Woll that reached out to you, or have other people who know Sam Woll seen you doing this program reached out to you?
There was another person that asked to talk to me, but I have not heard from that person. He'd sent a message to me, but yeah, said wanted to talk to me. I said, okay, here's my email, but never heard back from him.
You know,
So yeah, you're the first person. Yes.
you're not requesting like to interviews or speak to people. You haven't reached out to.
No, no. Uh, to conduct an interview, you have to be in person to do that. It's just the way you do interviews, the way you conduct them. It's just you have to be in person to kind of invade their space, make them either feel comfortable or uncomfortable, and then also body language and questions asked. There's certain techniques that I used to teach, detection techniques, where you can tell a person is going to lie before they even answer. You pose a question to them, and you know before they answer if they will lie or not. And it's like 85% accurate. So yeah, you have to be in person. So no, I've not gone that far into it. I'm not mobile enough to do the interviews.
Freedom of information request or something like that?
No, it's just my mobility. I
Oh,
can't. Yeah,
I mean, you could do freedom of information request without mobility, or you don't even know
I could.
what
Yeah,
what
from
you'd
but
request
yeah.
besides for the
Uh,
like the body cam. That's why I saw someone requested the body cam footage from the Kalamazoo Police Department, which was rejected. But I don't even know what you'd request besides that.
hmm.
But I
Well,
think
no,
you
I
can
would
do it
go and look
remotely.
personally. I'd go and bribe officers and get the information that way.
Yeah, I mean that's what the other podcast was saying. Like, I mean, it seems almost. I mean, just as the, like, just I think I'm pretty sure just the name of the person that was brought in just through process of elimination. But like, I mean, certainly, like, if I mean, I didn't nose around because of her family or whatever. Like, I'm not a cop. I'm just someone who you know, I guess her friend, someone who is concerned about the situation. But yeah,
Yeah, if I could, I would go and I'd get the name, and then I would go and find that person and just start hounding them, start questioning them.
well, I've been doing internet searches, so I'm just saying, like, no one's done that. I mean, okay, like that's why I found you because you're the only one doing it. I'm talking to you, and like, God forbid, I saw your sickness. I'm really sorry about that. But you're saying like, okay, if you were in the area and mobile, you're saying like you probably would have had a bunch of information. You're saying that no one's doing it, no one cares enough, or there's no money in it. Did it have to be someone that's uh, you're just a internet sleuth for I mean, for fame, I mean, is it not a big enough case, the viewership, that like some internet sleuth, the detective, true crime reporter could dig around and make money from their YouTube viewership or something like that?
Oh, I'm not doing it for that. I'm just I saw this case and I just thought it was interesting. But I
Well, I'm
mean, to
asking
get
what
the
do you think why there's
information
no
doesn't
lead?
cost that much money to get the information.
Why you think there's no leads? Why you think the name hasn't been released? It's been a month
I
already.
don't know. There's just no interest. There's no interest, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why there's. It just doesn't seem to garner any interest in the media. And it's usually a white girl, beautiful girls, ones that get the attention. Well, she's a white, beautiful girl. She should be getting the attention, but she's not. And there's murders happen every day, but uh, with this much notoriety, with this much political influence, I'm just yeah, it's shocking that it's not garnered more interest than it has.
Yeah, I mean, you think like, okay, like Elise Slotkin, or I mean, they sent the FBI in like the first day, like the
Yeah,
FBI to help with the case. She worked for Dana Nessel, the Michigan Attorney General. I mean, I don't know if say like the Michigan Attorney General, if I mean, I don't know the Attorney General, they don't if there's jurisdictional things, but
well,
yeah, you would.
she is the attorney general is the top cop for Michigan. She could be doing whatever she wants, and she could be giving the Detroit Police Department more manpower if needed. And yeah, she could do whatever she wants.
Could she access the information? Would she have access to see?
Oh yes, yeah, she's the attorney general of a state is the top cop of the state.
But it's the state police. They're saying the Detroit police, if she requested to see the case file and all the information about her, would that be
Yes.
jurisdictional where they would give
No,
the
they give it
attorney?
to her. No, yeah, she's in charge of all the cops in the whole state cops and uh, municipalities like the chiefs. Yeah,
So I mean, do you
she's
think
in
she did
charge.
that? You think she did it? She's seen it, or you think she didn't
No,
care?
I don't think she has. I don't. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, would that make sense to you if that like she was like, let me see her file. I want to see, God forbid, the crime scene photos.
You would think she would do that.
And would she have the ability to do that and then release a statement to the public? And I mean, and she's
What
A Jewish woman.
releasing it to the public, no, but
Well,
getting
not
the
re I
information,
mean,
yeah.
I don't know if she released the crime file, but released more. I mean, she's a Jewish woman, Dana Nessel, and saying that that say, well, she worried that this is a hate crime, and the information she said, like, no, I've seen the file, and the reason they're saying it's not a hate crime is because they think it's almost certain it was someone who knew her that did it, and they haven't said that. And so if Dana Nessel looked at the file and then she said, like, no, I mean, I disagree. I still think this could have been a hate crime.
Or
Or
it could have been somebody that was very politically connected.
or you're saying it's someone Dana Nessel knows, that the suspect is
Yes.
someone
Yeah,
that Dana
a
Nessel
name
also
that all of
knows.
us would know, that's possible. Not
Or
probable, but it's
you think
possible, yeah.
that Dana Nessel knows who the suspect is and hasn't spoken on it because she knows who the prime suspect is.
Well, that's
And
possible. If she has access to that information, yes.
I mean, is it so mind-boggling that nothing has happened that you think it's more likely that Elise Slotkin, Dana Nessel know who the suspect is, and that's why they're not saying something? Or you think they're
Possibly,
just
they may
incompetent?
have, been given the information and, it's, common courtesy to not release the information to the public,
Yeah,
be
I mean, Elise Slotkin, she's on MSNBC. Dana Nessel, they've been outspoken, against anti-Semitism, and the Jewish community is still worried that how do we know it's not a hate crime? And to say, well, if they have access to this, that they've looked at the case and saying like that Dana Nessel could clarify uh, the reason why they don't think it's a hate crime. And yeah, I'm with you. That's why I'm watching your program. Like, God forbid you're just that's why I'm talking to you, because I'm just a concerned Metro Detroiter that's like, why don't I know anything about this? God forbid, why isn't it solved? Why isn't like basic questions that just um have like a demand of logic not been answered?
yeah. Uh, Again, they're, falling back on their, "We're not gonna release any information that only the suspect and, police would know."
I mean, how is it possible we only got like 3 viewers watching this, and, like a few subs are asking questions that no one else has asked? I mean, God forbid, like I'm watching your video and here you're asking questions that no one else has asked. I mean, like, how is that possible? I mean, I can see that that's possible.
How
And
is it possible?
clearly,
Because there's too many cat videos out there. Too many other things that, uh, don't keep people's attention. We have that's a whole generational thing, but, yeah, after 15 seconds, people nowadays move on to the next thing.
yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. So, I mean, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you talking to me,
Yeah.
and
I thank you for coming on. Yes, I'm gonna continue doing this, every weekday. Uh, uh, I wanted to talk about other events that's going on, but it spoke to me, and I had to do this. So,
okay, well, we'll see. I mean, I think tomorrow will be the deadline whether they're going to release this other person.
well,
And,
now again, we don't know if he was arrested or not.
yeah, I mean, so it's
He might
possible
have
there'll just be no information, that they
Yeah,
won't
he might
announce
be in there
anything, and
just
we won't
answering
know it.
questions for somebody else. So we don't know. We just don't know yet. Yeah. Uh,
I mean, there could be
was
no
he
update
arrested on
tomorrow.
Sunday or not? So they just
You're saying
said,
there could be no update tomorrow, that they're not even gonna tell you anything.
yes, well, I'll definitely be watching for it. But
And what if they
again,
do?
thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
If just the one last question, if they
Sure.
do execute the search warrant, what type of public record trail does that leave, or does that not necessarily leave any public record trail if they?
Oh, yes, that would be public. But again, well, that was Kalamazoo that refused the body cam, but the search warrant that was signed by a judge is freedom of information. You can get that, and once it's filed, you can find out what was confiscated.
But the name, I'm saying, that if they do a
It
search
would have an
warrant.
address. No, it depends on what the search warrant is exactly for. Is it for a person vehicle? or is it for a person's home, a residence? If it's a residence, it'll just have a residence, I believe. I don't know if it will have the name of the person or not. Yeah, it should, because if it's a shared dwelling, they would have to have a person's name to go for their possessions only, their room type thing.
Okay, well, thanks, James. If there's any interesting update or they release information, maybe I'll join you again. But yeah, I
Yes.
appreciate your concern. I appreciate you doing this and appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Yes. And again, I'll be doing this every weekday at 6 o'clock. So come on in and share your opinions. And until tomorrow evening, good night.